and rates. Okay, and we're live. Take it away, Alan.
Hi, everyone. This is Alan Lepofsky from Constellation Research, where I'm with my colleagues Holger Mueller and Natalie Peterhoff, better known as Dr. Nat on Twitter. Everyone follows her with that. We're here live in San Francisco. You can see us actually each inside of our hotel rooms for the 2014 version of Dreamforce. As everybody knows, this is one of the largest industry events. They're reporting 145,000 people registered this year. I don't know what the actual number is, but I can tell you every street, restaurant, and hotel in a 10-block radius in San Francisco is packed. So we've been here for a few days taking in the news, and we want to spend the next few minutes kind of walking you through what the most recent announcements and the big news mean for you, customers, partners, vendors, developers, etc. So I think to get started, the same way they did in their kickoff, the first thing we want to talk about, something that's Dreamforce or Salesforce is very excited about, is this new analytics platform they have, the Analytics Cloud, or with a little fancier name, they're calling it Wave. Holger, do you want to kind of introduce us to what Wave is and give us your initial thoughts about this?
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Hey, there's a lot of mystery around the Analytics Cloud. I mean, they said it very clear. Wave seems to be the underlying technology powering it. The Analytics Cloud, as Mark Benioff said in his keynote, is the sixth cloud which Salesforce has now added. And it looks to me, if we try to pull the onions, I just came over from Moscone West talking to the people at the booths and some developers and architects. It's like the next generation of reporting of Salesforce, vastly improved with better visualizations, nicer things to look at, and especially the capability well done for the ecosystem companies like Informatica, MuleSoft, and many others to get third-party information into this new, I don't want to call it data warehouse, but it very much looks like it's with fact tables and different dimensions to it. So it's a great start. It's the next generation of reporting. It's not analytics. I just blogged about what real analytics are. They take an action or they recommend an action. It doesn't do that yet. Predictive analytics seems to be in the roadmap I was mentioned under Safe Harbor. So it's a good start, but that's where we are.
Well, I think that's great that you pointed out, because that's a lot of the conversations we've been hearing, and the main question customers have been having is, look, you can wrap anything around a name, and Salesforce is now saying we have this analytics package. But as you pointed out, at the moment, it's kind of more accurate maybe to call it dashboarding or reporting, not to call it analytics. But hey, that's semantics, and as analysts, that's what we're here to make sure people are aware of. I took a look at Wave as well, and a couple things from my area. As people know, I sort of cover the collaboration tools that employees use, and I was very pleased to see, even though it's just a version 1 of Wave, they do have some good chatter integration in it already. When you create a dashboard or you create a report, whether you're on your mobile device in the Salesforce One app or whether you're on the web, you can quickly just click share, and you can take that information and publish it into the chatter stream or in a chatter community, and then people can have a conversation around it. And I think that's where a lot of the value comes. As people know, I talk about this purposeful collaboration, having to collaborate around an idea. And I think bringing analytics into that piece of the conversation is really important. So a sales team looking at the regional marketing numbers and creating a dashboard or a report, next generation report about it, that's great. But there's a lot more value if you can then share it and have a discussion about it, not just create a pretty PowerPoint presentation about it. So I was pleased to see chatter integration. But that brings me to what I'm not happy about, is that right now, in their current first version, what it's analyzing or what it's doing analytics around is just the sales, marketing, and service clouds. It's not actually looking at the things that are, in my world, chatter and communities. So the tool is not yet analyzing their own internal communications, and that'll come. That's on the roadmap. I don't want to be too harsh, but I do need to point out it's not a community analytics tool yet. So that's the first part. So I talk about community and customer, we've mentioned a few times, and sales and reporting. Nat, one of the other big announcements was around the Customer Success Cloud. Do you want to take a few minutes and tell us what that was and what your initial reaction to it was?
Well, it's really interesting, right? So customer success platforms are just all of a sudden become really popular. And for me, that's something that just totally makes common sense. Once you sell something, you need to talk to people. You need to make sure that they're happy. You need to make sure that you're giving them what they need. So when it comes to renewal, especially in the SaaS world, world, that people say, yeah, I want to continue. And so, what Benioff is talking about is this idea of a customer success platform where you're connecting all of your customers, all of their devices, cameras, watches, uh, people, apps, and they really want to look at 6 core technologies: mobile, connected products to networks. They want to look at one-to-one marketing for the marketing journey, and they want to look at social data and apps, and they want to be able to manage it all in one platform. Well, here's what happened. As soon as that announcement came out, I got emails from other customer success platform vendors who are kind of upset by this announcement. So what we really want to do, I guess, is really start to dissect and see what the difference is, and see what Salesforce versus Tatanga versus Service Source is offering. And what's interesting is that Salesforce has invested in Gainsight, which is also a customer success platform. So what's really interesting now, of course, is the devil's in the details, and that's what we really need to dig into, is what is really the differentiators. And we'll be coming up with some vendor profiles to help everyone kind of understand that better.
Well, that's great.
Ray couldn't make it. He's on the plane, but he emailed in his comments, right? No, Alan is a big fan of email being the true collaboration, and in our last webcast, my connection dropped, so Ray was reading my chat feed, so I have the honor to read from his email on customer success management. He's saying it's interesting that Salesforce.com is taking up starters like Totango and Gainsight, which you mentioned, Natalie. You think it's a well thought out vision, but the incumbent startups have the mind share. Yeah? It's not the area I cover. I would just say, how can customer success be a platform? Right? It's a much, much bigger thing, which involves people, culture, training, things, and so on. Can you platform success? That would be great, right? I don't think you can.
Well, so Holger, that's a great comment. And when I was talking to ServiceForce yesterday, what he said was we really have 2 parts: there's managed services, and the other one is we actually did create a platform on which we were doing our managed services, and now we are taking that platform and we're making it available to our customers, and they can either use our services or use it on their own. So there's really 2 pieces to this story, and so that's really where we want to dig in deep. Is you're right. And any technology, come on, it's people, process, and technology, and if you don't have them kind of collaborative, Alan would say, way, it's not really going to deliver the things that you think it's going to. So, we really want to dig into the details. Let's focus on what can really happen versus what the marketing spin is.
Okay, well, that's great. And that's, as analysts, that's what we're here to do. And I look forward, you mentioned company profiles will be coming up, so everybody please look forward to those. Nat does a fantastic job of sort of saying, innovation versus differentiators and what you need to know as a customer who's looking at employing or deploying these technologies. Let's shift gears for a minute. We talked about customers, and the customer side has marketing and sales and support and things. I want to talk about the application developer side of things for a few minutes, or the platform or the infrastructure side. Last year at Dreamforce 2013, they introduced us to this new sort of bundling of all of their technologies, Force.com and Heroku and a bunch of things, and they gave it this marketing term, Salesforce One. And there was some confusion. Is Salesforce One a language, a platform? Is it the mobile app that they were showing? Like, what is this Salesforce One thing? Well, this year, they've continued with the application development message with something that they're branding around this new theme called Lightning. So there's yet another name. So there was Heroku and Salesforce One, and then there was Salesforce, or then there was new things added, and now there's Lightning. Lightning, from my perspective, has lots of components. They talked about a new user interface. They talked about a visual design tool. Holger, why don't you kind of step us through, what is this Lightning thing? Is it part of what we already know, or is it a brand new thing that they've added? Like, what's Lightning?
Well, think of Lightning as the development platform of Salesforce, right? They're building the next generation applications with Lightning, and they're sharing these tools with their customers and partners, right? There's significant partner adoption of Lightning, and it's an easier way, an almost more declarative, non-programmative way to build your next generation applications. And the really interesting, powerful thing is it's not programmed, you don't need to be a programmer to do that. It's a drag and drop environment of existing components where probably even an advanced business user has a chance to become dangerous, or in a positive way become useful and solve certain mini apps, small application problems by themselves, which is extremely empowering for business users who I meet them at this conference. Like, look, we built this ourselves. We solved the problem ourselves. We didn't have to go to IT. I didn't have to get capex from a partner. We didn't have to talk to developers. So I think Salesforce is moving the yardstick to a certain point in the direction of this end-user programming, which has lots of downfalls. I know, Alan, you'll talk about it in a second. But I think it's good to first empower users and then see where it takes you, and then comes the disillusionment with new technology. But let's look at the positive. It's a great way to build newer, more modern applications with a mobile-first mind, which Salesforce is not getting tired to stress all about. So interesting for existing customers to see how they can build new edge, new random applications around it. It will be interesting to see through the run of the next 12 months how the new Salesforce and new partner applications using Lightning will be looking like and will be empowering users like.
Holger, you're right. You know, one of the things that Benioff talked about was this data divide, right? And so who owns the data, who owns the applications, who can build them, and what Salesforce says they're trying to do is really put the power in the hands of the business people and closes this data divide. And as you guys talk about on the internal side of things, you know, in some ways that's really great to give the business user this capability, but on the other side, maintaining that infrastructure, if people aren't collaborating correctly, could really turn into interesting to see what happens great inside of companies and making sure that, you know, we can maintain this stuff.
I think, you know, I'll kind of bring both of your guys' thoughts together. The positive side from what Holger is saying, drag and drop user interfaces, business developers or people that own a business unit being able to build their own applications is extremely powerful. And the reason why is they have the domain expertise. If you're the person that's managing a workflow or a process, you really understand it. And the trade-off of having to explain that to an app developer, sometimes some of the semantics get lost in what you want to build. However, the flip side is, and I've seen this for almost 2 decades now with many of you know, my background is centered in Lotus Notes, which was essentially building these lightweight applications. We've moved on to more modern tools. There's things like Podio that allow you to do this. There's web forms, simple things like SurveyMonkey and Get Feedback. All these things that allow business people to build what we call these applications. And the problem is, if you're a business developer, you're actually not a trained coded developer, which means you're not skilled in things like user experience, user design, layout, naming conventions, metadata, security, and so there's a trade-off. It's wonderful to be able to quickly get a small application up and running without, like you said, CapEx or hiring a business partner. But then you run into things like management issues, consistency issues. You know, did somebody else build a similar application? Why are you going and recreating the wheel? Did you name something first name, last name, and somebody else named it surname, nickname? You know, there's a lot of consistency issues that can pop up inside organizations if you're not managing your application development through a strict set of policies in IT. So my advice to customers, I think Lightning's a wonderful thing. Don't take it away as a negative, but I think you want to evaluate who it is inside your organization who's going to have access to be able to build applications. And then I think you want to make sure to have a set of policies around what do these mini applications look like, how do you name them, what color schemes do you use. You want consistency or you're going to have some problems with them. So, you know, ways...
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead, Holger.
And I think a check from our CIO customers is in the mail for you.
Okay, well, I want everybody to be happy. I want developers to be happy, but I also want business users to be happy at the end of the day. And I think if I really wanted to sum it up, I think tools like this are a great bridge between the two. Developers aren't in the back end writing with, you know, real code, Perl and Ruby and Python and J2E and .NET and things like that. So they now have a visual way of building these things, so that's an advantage. But they also want to learn from the business application owners what it is they should be building. And so bringing those two groups together, the ones with the domain expertise and the ones with the app dev skills, I think a tool like Lightning is going to be great for. You know, one thing we didn't mention about Lightning is it's also a new user interface for the tools themselves. So Salesforce, you know, the CRM records, the trouble tickets, the support information, it's going to get a brand new look next year. So Lightning is also going to enhance the way the 2015 versions of Salesforce itself looks like. It's going to look a lot more like the mobile version looks today. So I think a lot of customers are going to be really excited about that. That the tabbed user interface along the top of Salesforce is going to be updated. All right, Nat, is there, unless there's any other big topics, do you want to spend a quick few minutes just recapping? My question to you is, Salesforce has been on the cover of magazines year after year as being one of the most innovative companies in the world. Was Dreamforce 2014 innovative or catch up or what? What is the overarching theme of what they did this year?
I would say it's always fun. It's always interesting. I don't know that there's that much really, really, truly new. I think this idea of putting the app dev in the hands of the business user, the possibility of that is really great, especially for the customer service end of things, because customer service usually ends up suffering from the Rodney Dangerfield effect, meaning they are at the end of the IT list. So, I think there's a lot of promise here. You know me, the devil's in the details. I want to see the details, so I look forward to the coming year and learning more.
Okay, Holger, innovation, disruption, catch up. What's Dreamforce 2014?
I think it's, from an industry perspective, it's catch-up. Salesforce One is getting a good, great reporting platform and a development environment which is very productive. For Salesforce customers, it's highly innovative, right? There was a huge problem before when you had to report sales data, CRM data out of Salesforce with third-party data, which we all know exists. That had to happen in the third-party system. It was very, very difficult to get that third-party information into the old Salesforce reporting. So for customers, it's good innovation. It's not a look on the bright side, because sometimes the SaaS customers complain that they get too many releases, too much is happening, and they struggle to catch up. I think right now Salesforce is doing lots of things on the infrastructure, platform capability side. So now is a good time to upgrade your business practices, fit them, get all the skeletons out of the closet, which maybe you had from a fast implementation, and get ready for 2015, when significantly new Salesforce applications built on Lightning using Wave and the Analytics Cloud will be coming out, and everybody will be fastening their seatbelts on the business process side. So right now is a good time to prepare for that.
All right, so this was a big year for them for sort of building foundation, which I think both of you have mentioned the devil's in the details and what's coming next. It sounds like 2015 may be like a really just knock it out of the park year, if this year was sort of a getting ready year. Same thing from my perspective in the social world. Dreamforce has evolved from a few years ago where the main catchphrase of the entire conference was social business. Now it's not. It's an afterthought. It's not even mentioned. So in my world of collaboration, I think Salesforce has done a great job of, it no longer has to be a headline. It's now just built into everything they do. Chatter and communities and social and collaborating. It's part of the Sales Cloud. It's part of the Service Cloud. It's part of the Marketing Cloud. It's just kind of inherent that, sharing information, integrating with your colleagues, making connections, all of those things is just part of what you do. So no majorly new announcements on my front, but I think that's great. I think what they're doing around files and communities and chatter is exactly what customers need. And they're going to keep going, and we're going to see some interesting new things as wearable devices, become more popular, and so on and so forth for next year. So from my perspective,
did we miss the overarching theme? I mean, it was customer company, it was social enterprise. Yeah. Is customer success the overarching theme of this Dreamforce?
I think it's customer success platform, the platform that connects. There are 6 core technologies and the trillions of devices and people with devices. I think that's the core intention here is to talk about. Last year was social business, and let's integrate social into business. This year is let's connect everything and make sure that we're connecting everything and using it properly so that we can get the value out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to think of a company who has more momentum in changing who they are and what they deliver in the shortest time period. 5 years ago it was, your sales reps in some corner of the office use Salesforce. Now it's a tool that spans everything and everybody inside your organization, your partners, your customers. It's pretty easy to say that a Salesforce piece of software can touch every aspect of what runs your company if you so choose. So big change in the company in just a few short years. Okay, anybody have any final words, or are we all done, folks? What do you think?
5 tips for customers. Who wants to go first?
Okay, Holger, we're
I,
putting you on the spot. 5 tips for customers.
let's
Well, I don't
all
have 5, so you can expand on my 3. I mean, it's like as classic. Look at the value of that, right? And one of the shocking things Ray has in his notes too, or surprising, shocking is probably the true strong word, right? Of course, Salesforce is trying to get premium money for the analytics cloud, and starting at $125 a month for a regular user and $250 for a power user. That's a pretty steep price, even if you compare it to the traditional licensing after with this list price, right? After rebate for the traditional Salesforce app. So customers should look at the value that is really coming to them with Wave. If that value equation makes sense, by all means, take a careful look at it. It's new technology. It's just being unveiled in the next weeks. So do the due diligence. But if you see the value, go for it. The other key things I think is on the analytics side, really look at where you're doing right now your third-party plus Salesforce intelligence. Map with that vendor what their future looks like when they have their conference, how they see it. Pretty much everybody under the sun has a connector into Salesforce and gets Salesforce data out. So the interesting thing is that Salesforce is trying to provide a good visualization way to get to the data, but Salesforce doesn't have to be the vendor, but it's a good contestant in this. So companies looking at solving their intelligence questions in data warehouses and getting all the information they have in their enterprise together should definitely look at Wave/the Analytics Cloud, but also look what they're doing right now and what their incumbent vendors do, and then hopefully make the best decision for them.
Hey, Nat, your few main customer takeaways?
my tips are,
Calls
take a
to
look at what you
action?
got. Take a look at what you got. Take a look at what your business goals are. What is it that you really want to do? And then, figure out what the gaps are, and then figure out what kind of software is going to help you with those gaps. And a lot of that, may be business process. Some of that may be people, maybe training, and it also may be technology. And so you want to really evaluate this fall what you have, and then start 2015 with a bang.
Okay, so evaluate your business problems, find solutions for them. I think I'm going to echo that sort of sentiment in my world. Looking at something, if you're a Salesforce customer today, you don't deploy something like Chatter and Communities just for the sake of doing it. Look at sales, marketing, app development, all of the things that you're doing, customer support. Figure out where there's communication breakdowns in those processes. Collaboration is all about helping communication break down, sharing knowledge, sharing skills, sharing news, sharing videos, meeting colleagues, finding experts. Collaboration is all about that content and conversations and colleagues and bringing them all together. And so look at how Chatter can be part of those processes. Don't think of it as like we need to roll out a new employee tool for communication. Instead, think about how can I make my sales and marketing and engineering and all of these processes more efficient by embedding Chatter across all of the things that they do. And so I think from a vendor standpoint, Salesforce has done a good job making it sort of a seamless experience. So that's about it from my camp.
Perfect.
All right, everybody, have a great Dreamforce, and we'll see you out there.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Dreamforce. Be careful out there. Enjoy the rest of it.